Dr. Adrian Hale sat alone in Lab Sector 3, the soft blue glow of the holographic display washing over his tired face. For hours, he'd stared at the same spiraling genetic sequences, and the lines now blurred into meaningless patterns. The Sarin IX research station hummed quietly around him, that constant vibration reminding him he was thousands of kilometers from anything resembling home. 8 months, 8 months of data, silence, metal corridors, and her. "You're doing it again," a voice said behind him, melodic and layered like two tones spoken at once, attempting to outstare the sequencing arrays. Adrian turned, already knowing who he would see. Dr. Kaela stepped into the room, markings on her face glowing in muted silver waves. Her species, the Velyth, didn't need the station's lighting. Their bioluminescent patterns shifted with emotion, thought, even curiosity, and Kaela's markings were unusually expressive for her kind. Adrian had learned to read them more accurately than he cared to admit. "You should be resting," she added, walking toward him with measured grace. "Humans deteriorate rapidly under chronic exhaustion." "That's comforting," he said with a tired smile. "Thank you. I did not intend comfort. I intended accuracy." Adrian snorted. "Yeah, you do that a lot." Kaela stopped beside him, close enough that her faint ozone-like scent drifted toward him. "You skipped the social hour tonight. Marcus brought something he called whiskey. The others seemed disappointed you were absent. That drink could dissolve metal. Pretty sure I made the right choice." Kaela tilted her head, her delicate ears shifting as she processed the humor. "He assured us it was only mildly corrosive." Adrian laughed. "Exactly my point." Her eyes, violet with streaks of gold, lingered on him a moment too long. "You isolate yourself more than the others. It concerns me." "That obvious?" "To me, yes." Her voice softened. "Humans speak loudly even when they are silent." Something in his chest tightened at that. Kaela rarely spoke so personally. Her people were formal, structured, ritualistic. But Kaela, she broke the rules without realizing she was breaking them. She glanced at his display. The markers still refused to align. "They refuse to do anything except mock me." "That is because you are exhausted," she said simply, "and because you are approaching the data like a human. That's the only way I know how." "Then learn a new way." Her markings flickered with gentle amusement. "You learn quickly." Adrian swallowed. "Kaela, why are you really here?" Her gaze held his, steady and unreadable. "Because when you push yourself to the point of collapse, I feel it in the work. And because," she hesitated, markings dimming, "because the lab feels different when you are not in it." He blinked, unsure he'd heard correctly, but before he could ask, her wristband chimed, sharp and insistent. "Lower chamber malfunction," she said. "I am required immediately." "Need help?" Her ears angled forward. "You would fall asleep before reaching the lift." He smiled weakly. "Fair." Kaela took a step toward the door, but paused, looking back with an expression Adrian had never seen on her. Something soft, something almost human. "Rest, Adrian Hale," she said quietly. "Your mind is important to me." And then she slipped out, markings trailing like fading starlight. Adrian powered down his station, telling himself he'd sleep. But his thoughts refused to quiet. Her voice echoed through him, "Important to me." Those words weren't casual among her species. They weighed more than she knew he understood. Sleep could wait. He wandered the empty corridor until he reached the observation deck, intending only to pass by. But through the glass doors, a silhouette caught his eye, slender still, framed by the vast ocean of stars. Kaela, she hadn't noticed him. She stood motionless before the viewport, arms folded lightly, markings glowing in slow, melancholic pulses. Her reflection shimmered against the glass, and for the first time she seemed small. Not the brilliant scientist who challenged him daily, not the otherworldly woman wrapped in ritual and precision, just a lonely figure adrift between galaxies. Adrian stepped inside before he could stop himself. "Kaela." She startled just slightly before turning toward him. "Adrian, I believed you had retired." "I tried," he said. "Didn't work." Her gaze lingered on him, gentle but searching. Then she nodded toward the stars. "I come here when logic becomes too loud. The universe is quieter than my thoughts." He joined her at the window. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence wasn't awkward, it was equilibrium. As if the station hum softened, as if the stars drew closer, as if their shoulders almost, but not quite touched. "Kaela," he murmured. "Yes. You're not alone here, even when it feels like it." Her markings. The next morning felt different before Adrian even opened his eyes. The station hummed the same, lights rose the same, ventilation cycled the same. But something in the atmosphere had shifted. A subtle tension like the faint static before a storm. Maybe it was him, maybe it was her. When he arrived in the lab, the Velyth researchers were already working, their movements precise and silent. Their glowing markings flickered faintly, reacting to something he couldn't interpret. Only Kaela remained turned away from him, studying the resonance chambers with intense focus. Adrian approached cautiously. Morning. Her markings brightened at the sound of his voice, just slightly, just enough for him to notice, before she composed herself and turned. Adrian Hale, she greeted. You did sleep, yes. Enough to not walk into a door. That is an improvement. Her tone was calm, clinical, but her eyes, those violet gold eyes, gave her away. They lingered too long, held too much, said too much. He cleared his throat. I can help with the sequencing today. I think I figured out why the lateral helix loops were destabilizing. Kaela blinked once slowly. Show me. They worked side by side, and as always, the world narrowed to two voices, four hands, and a single glowing screen. Adrian explained his hypothesis. Kaela countered with an alternative resonance theory. He rewired a data node. She recalibrated the quantum filter with a grace that felt almost artistic. Whenever she leaned over the console, he caught her scent again, cool, electric, like the air after lightning. Whenever he spoke, she tilted her head in that distinctly Velyth way, her ears adjusting to pick up every nuance in his tone. They were close, too close. Adrian finally stepped back, pretending to review the data. So, about last night. Kaela froze, her markings dimmed, then flared, then softened again, a storm of emotion hidden beneath ritual composure. We should not discuss that here, she said quietly. Why not? Because others are present. She glanced around. Two Velyth researchers stood at distant stations, but their ears were angled toward them, listening, observing. Adrian lowered his voice. Is something wrong? She hesitated, a long, careful hesitation unusual for her. Among my people, she finally said, moments of emotional openness carry significance. They are not to be taken lightly. His stomach dropped. Did we do something wrong? Her gaze softened. No, but what you said was not small. I just said you're not alone, and that I wasn't either. To a Velyth, she said slowly, that is not a simple comfort. It is an invitation, a declaration of recognition. He blinked, recognition. Kaela stepped closer, lowering her voice to a whisper. It means I see you, truly, and you see me. It is the beginning of bonding potential. Adrian's heart stopped, bonding as in. Not union, she whispered quickly, but the path toward it. He swallowed hard. Kaela, I just meant that I care, that I'm here, that you don't have to stand in the observation deck alone. And I accepted that care. Her markings shimmered like starlight on water. It has been a long time since anyone has spoken to me that way, she admitted. It is difficult for me to remain unaffected. Adrian looked down at his hands. It wasn't just comfort, I wasn't lying. I know. He turned to her. How? She lifted her hands slightly, not touching him but near him, as if testing the air between them. Because when a Velyth observes someone for long enough, they learn to read even the smallest fluctuations in breath, heartbeat, tone. You can hear my heartbeat. Only when it becomes louder, she murmured, like it is now. Damn it. He stepped back immediately, but she followed, just one slow step, subtle but intentional. You do not need to fear this, she said. I will not misunderstand you without confirmation, but I must ask something of you. He braced himself. Ask what? When you look at me, what do you feel? Adrian's mind blanked. Feel. I require clarity, she said gently. Velyth emotions are deep, intense. Once awakened, they are not easily silenced. Her markings brightened to a warm blue. Tell me, Adrian Hale, when your eyes linger on me, what do you feel? He could lie, he could pretend, he could escape this. But something in her expression, hope mixed with fear, forced the truth out of him. I feel drawn to you, he admitted. Every time you walk into the room, every time you stand too close, every time you look at me like that. Her breath caught, faint but unmistakable. And last night, he continued, when I saw you standing alone, I felt like if I didn't go to you, I would regret it. Kaela's markings glowed brighter, a soft, expanding light across her skin. That, she whispered, is recognition. Before he could respond, a sharp hiss echoed through the lab. Adrian turned. A containment panel flickered. A resonance chamber surged. Something inside pulsed violently. Back, Kaela ordered, but it was too late. A shockwave rippled across the room, the lights strobing as an alarm screamed through the sector. Adrian stumbled, but Kaela caught his wrist, pulling him behind her, shielding him with her body instinctively, too instinctively. The chamber's core glowed bright red. Adrian's pulse hammered. What is happening? Kaela's markings flashed a warning color, deep crimson. A destabilization. If it ruptures, the radiation level will. The chamber screamed, metal warping. Kaela pushed him toward the exit. Go. Adrian awoke to a sound that wasn't sound at all. A deep, resonant thrum, like something vibrating inside his bones. His vision was hazy, swimming with white afterimages. The world felt distant, muffled, as if he were underwater. Then a voice cut through the fog. Adrian, stay awake, do not drift. Kaela, her tone wasn't calm this time. It held urgency, fear. He blinked rapidly as the blur around him sharpened. He was lying on his back against the cold medbay floor. Emergency lights strobed overhead in pale pulses. A faint haze still clung to the room, like the ghost of the explosion, and Kaela was kneeling over him. Her hands, glowing with swirling, frantic patterns, were pressed against his shoulders as if she'd been physically shaking him back to consciousness. Her markings were brighter than he had ever seen. Too bright, almost unstable. Kaela, he croaked. You're okay. She exhaled shakily. You ask if I am well when you were the one unconscious. He managed a tired half-smile. Yeah, sounds like me. Her expression tightened, not in annoyance, but in something rower. A mix of relief and something deeper she was struggling to restrain. You frighten me, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He tried pushing himself up but winced as the room tilted. Kaela immediately supported him, sliding an arm behind his back. The closeness forced him to feel her warmth, her steady but fast heartbeat, the scent of electricity still clinging to her skin. What happened? He asked. The chamber destabilized. You were thrown back by the shockwave. She swallowed, markings flickering weakly. I shielded you, but... But what? But I absorbed more of the impact than expected. She looked away. My markings have not stabilized since. Adrian frowned. The intricate glowing patterns along her cheeks, temples, and arms pulsed erratically, shifting from violet to silver to a faint gold shimmer. Is that bad? It means my emotional field has exceeded controlled parameters. In normal words, it means, she said slowly, that I felt too much. Their eyes met. Everything inside him went still. Before he could respond, the medbay doors slid open. Dr. Lithar, one of the senior Velyth researchers, entered with 2 attendants. His markings were dim and formal, expression unreadable. Dr. Veyer, Lithar said sternly, step back. Kaela stiffened. She did not move. This human requires examination, he continued. I have already performed one. That is not your role. Lithar's tone sharpened. Your markings are unstable. You are compromised. Kaela's ears drew back in offense. I am not compromised. You shielded him with your body. You took a force no Velyth should take for a colleague. Do not insult us by pretending this was professional instinct. A heavy silence settled over the room. Adrian felt Kaela's grip on him tighten, just slightly, but enough for Lithar to notice. The elder Velyth's eyes narrowed. Recognition, he said under his breath. So it is true. Kaela's markings flared defensively. This is not your concern. It becomes the concern of House Elders, Lithar said sharply, when one of our researchers begins forming a resonance bond with a human. Adrian blinked. A resonance bond. Lithar ignored him. Stand now. Kaela rose slowly, but not before she made sure Adrian was leaning safely against the medbed. Even in conflict, her first instinct was him. Lithar motioned to the attendants. Examine the human. Determine whether he has been exposed to harmful levels of radiation. I'm fine, Adrian insisted. You are not qualified to assess that, Lithar snapped. Kaela stepped forward. He is not to be handled roughly. His physiology is fragile, yes, we are aware. Kaela's markings pulsed again, bright, heated, protective. Adrian had never seen her like this. Never seen her challenge authority. Never seen her fight her own restraint so fiercely. The attendant scanned him with soft, humming instruments. Readings normal, one reported. Minor shock trauma, no internal damage. Kaela's shoulders dropped in silent relief, but Lithar wasn't done. You will explain, he demanded, turning to her, why your emotional field spiked to bonding thresholds. Why you placed yourself between the human and a rupturing chamber. Why your markings responded with resonance. Kaela's jaw clenched. Adrian felt something heavy form in his chest. It's because of me, isn't it? Kaela closed her eyes. Lithar answered in her silence. Yes, she reacted to you. Her instincts responded before her logic. That is the first sign of a resonance bond beginning to form. Bond, Adrian repeated. He tasted the word heavy and electric. Lithar sighed. Dr. Veyer, you know the consequences. A bond with your kind is not passive. It is irreversible once it deepens past the threshold. If you proceed without discipline, you endanger both yourself and him. Kaela's voice was steady but shaking underneath. I know. You know, Lithar continued, and still you let it progress. I did not intend. But you felt. She said nothing. Lithar turned his gaze to Adrian, sharp and analytical. Human, you do not understand the nature of what she risks. Then explain it to me, Adrian said. Kaela inhaled sharply. Lithar. No, Lithar said. He must know. He stepped closer. A resonance bond for a Velyth is not a romantic sentiment. It is a merging of emotional fields. It alters physiology, instinct, even neural resonance. Adrian swallowed hard. If she bonds to you fully, Lithar said, your emotional states will affect hers, your pain will echo through her, your fear will become hers. Your loss would destroy her. Kaela opened her eyes, and the look she gave Adrian was devastating. Soft, vulnerable, terrified, he whispered her name. Kaela. She stepped back, markings dimming to a trembling glow. I did not. Adrian had been discharged from the medbay after an hour of scans, tests, and repeated warnings about residual shock. But none of that mattered. His mind was still trapped in one moment, Kaela's trembling whisper. If this continues, I will not be able to unfeel you. Her voice had carried more fear than the explosion ever could. Now he stood alone in the quiet corridor outside the medical wing. The lights were dimmed to the station's pre-evening cycle, casting long shadows across the metallic floor. But Kaela was nowhere in sight. Not in the lab, not in her quarters, not even in the observation deck. She had vanished. And the emptiness she left behind hit him harder than the blast had. He headed toward the lower wing almost on instinct when he heard it. A faint hum, softer than the station's usual drone, a familiar vibration. Kaela. He followed the sound until he reached the resonance chamber observation room. There she stood, facing the cracked but stabilized chamber that had nearly killed them both. Her back was to him, markings dim and fractured like ripples in broken glass. Kaela, he said, stepping inside. You disappeared. I needed time, she replied without turning. Her voice was steady but thin. Time is what humans demand when they fear themselves. He paused. Is that what you think I'm doing? She finally turned to face him. Her eyes were dimmer than he'd ever seen them, the gold flecks muted, swallowed by violet. I do not know what you are doing, she admitted. I only know what I am feeling and what I should not feel. Kaela. No, she said, lifting a hand. Let me speak before I lose the courage. Adrian's heartbeat quickened. She rarely, if ever, interrupted him. When the chamber ruptured, she said softly, my body moved without thought. I did not think of protocols or consequences. I only thought of you. He swallowed, I know. What? You should not know, she murmured. You should not see what I struggle to hide. She stepped closer and he could see the tremor in her hands, something he had never witnessed from her. A Velyth forms bonds slowly, carefully. But once they begin, they accelerate. They deepen, they root. She pressed a hand to her chest. Her markings flared beneath her skin like a heartbeat of light. And mine is already rooting. Adrian took a slow breath. Kaela, this isn't one-sided. She looked up sharply. Do not say that if it is not true. It is true. His voice cracked with the weight of it. I can't pretend I don't feel something. I felt it for months. I just didn't know what it meant. Her expression softened, but fear still lingered beneath it. Humans can feel many things without consequence. You can walk away from your emotions, but she shook her head slowly. I cannot unknow what I feel for you. I cannot dim this. You shouldn't have to. If I remain near you, she whispered, I will bond to you fully, permanently. And if that happens, her eyes glistened with a dangerous, fragile brightness, then your pain will echo through me. Your fear will rewrite my instincts. Your death, she exhaled shakily. It would break me beyond repair. Adrian stepped closer. And if you bonded with someone of your own species, wouldn't it be the same? No, her voice was almost a plea. Velyth physiology is built to withstand bonding with our own. But with humans, our emotional fields align imperfectly. The resonance is unstable. It becomes overwhelming. He clenched his fists. So you're saying caring about me is dangerous? Loving you, she corrected quietly, is dangerous. Silence consumed the room. Kaela looked away first. I went to speak with Lithar, to ask if there is a path, a way to sever the resonance before it deepens. Adrian felt the words slice through him, and he said, "There is one," she said softly, "distance, silence, avoidance. If I stay away from you for long enough, the resonance will fade." She couldn't meet his eyes. "But it will wound me deeply," she added in a whisper, "and it will wound you." Adrian stepped forward before he could think. "Kaela," he said, voice shaking with something he could no longer deny, "don't do that. Don't walk away from me." "If I stay," she said with a trembling breath, "I may bond to you in ways that cannot be undone." "And if you leave," he replied, "it'll break both of us in ways we'll regret for the rest of our lives." She flinched, actually flinched. "I cannot be the reason you suffer," she whispered, "and I can't be the reason you bury every feeling you have because you're scared." She looked pained. "It is not fear, it is caution." "It's both," he said gently, "and it's okay." He reached for her hand, slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't, their fingers touched. Her markings exploded into brilliant gold. Kaela inhaled sharply as if the contact sent a shock through her. "Adrian, you must not touch me like this. It accelerates the resonance." "I don't care." "You should, but I don't." She closed her eyes tightly. "You are making this difficult." "I know." She opened her eyes again, slow, trembling, luminous. "You are making it impossible." The air between them felt alive, charged, heavy with meaning. He took her hand fully. She gasped. Her markings ignited in cascading waves, a symphony of golds and silvers. Light pulsed along her skin like something waking for the first time in centuries. "This is the point of no return," she whispered, breathless. "If you do this, if I do this, the bond will begin." He stepped closer, his forehead nearly touching hers. "Then let it begin." Her lips parted in shock, in fear, in longing, and the door behind them opened. "Dr. Hale," Lithar announced, his voice cutting through the moment like a blade. "You will come with me, immediately." Kaela jerked her hand away, markings dimming violently. Lithar's gaze swept the room cold, calculating. "The council has been informed," he said. "You must answer for the emotional interference you have caused." Adrian frowned. "Interference. You have ignited a resonance bond in one of our own," Lithar said sharply. "A human has no right to that." Kaela stepped in front of Adrian, markings bright with defiance. "He did not force anything. I felt what I felt." Lithar's expression hardened. "That is precisely the problem." He turned to Adrian. "You will be evaluated." The room felt colder the moment Lithar stepped inside. The sterile white light seemed sharper, harsher, as though the station itself sensed the fracture forming in the air. Kaela stood frozen, her markings dimming and flaring in frantic pulses. Adrian could read her now, fear, defiance, desperation. The bond was already threading between them, thin but unmistakable. Lithar's gaze cut through the two of them like a blade. "Dr. Hale, you will follow me. Now." Adrian straightened, jaw tight. "I already said I'm not leaving." "You do not understand the severity of this situation," Lithar said. "A resonance bond, once awakened, cannot be left unchecked. You are destabilizing Doctor." There, her markings show full emotional escalation. "She's not destabilized," Adrian snapped. "She's overwhelmed because she cares." "That is precisely the danger," Lithar replied. "Her emotions affect her physiology. And that bond," he pointed between them, markings dimming in disapproval, "should never have begun with a human." Kaela stepped forward sharply. "Enough." Lithar raised a brow. "Enough." "You speak as though I am a child," she said, voice trembling with contained fury. "As though I did not choose to stand beside him." "You did not choose," Lithar countered calmly. "Your instinct chose, that is the problem." "My instinct has guided me through every discovery, every breakthrough I have made on this station," Kaela shot back. "It has never failed me. It did not fail me today." Lithar's tone hardened. "It nearly killed you today." The words struck like a physical blow. Kaela flinched, markings dimming. Adrian took a step forward. "She saved my life." "And risked her own," Lithar said sharply, "which is irrational behavior for a Velyth scientist. That is why you must be removed from proximity." Kaela's breath hitched. "Lithar, no. It is the only way to prevent the bond from anchoring." Kaela shook her head violently, markings flickering in panic. "You do not understand. If he is taken away now, if the bond is severed too abruptly, it will hurt you," Lithar finished coolly. "Yes, but it is the lesser wound." Kaela's voice cracked. "No, you do not know what you are asking." "I know exactly," he said. and I will not allow a human to rewrite the emotional field of one of our scholars. That's not what's happening, Adrian said, stepping in front of her. I didn't force anything. I didn't even understand most of it until you explained it. That ignorance, Lithar said, is precisely why humans cannot be involved in these matters. Adrian's hands curled into fists. I'm not letting you take me anywhere. Lithar exhaled, unimpressed. You misunderstand. This is not a discussion. It is an order. Two Velyth enforcers entered the room silently. Tall, imposing, markings dimmed to military neutrality. They positioned themselves flanking Adrian with unnerving calm. Kaela moved instantly. She stood between Adrian and the enforcers, markings igniting in a flare of gold so bright that even the guards hesitated. No, Kaela said, voice trembling with threat. You will not take him. Lithar looked genuinely startled. Kaela, stand aside. I will not. You are risking disciplinary action. I do not care. Her markings flashed again. The chamber lights flickered with the resonant spike. Lithar's expression tightened. You are proving my point. The bond has progressed further than I estimated. Kaela's voice cracked with something painfully raw. Then let me say this clearly. If you take him from me, you will cause me more harm than the bond ever could. Silence, absolute stunned silence. Even the enforcers paused. Lithar lowered his voice. Kaela, do you hear what you are admitting? Yes, she whispered. I hear it and I mean it. Adrian felt the room tilt around him. He had known she cared. He had seen the signs. But hearing her say it before witnesses against her own people hit him with a force he wasn't ready for. He stepped forward, gently touching her arm. Kaela. She closed her eyes at his touch, markings pulsing painfully bright. Adrian, do not let them take you. Not now, not like this. Lithar drew himself taller. Dr. Hale. You will be escorted to Isolation Wing Beta for evaluation. If the bond has not fully anchored, containment may still be possible. Containment, Adrian echoed. I'm not a hazard. To us, Lithar said, you are. Adrian laughed once, humorless. Right, because I accidentally made her care about me. You do not grasp the consequences. No, Adrian said, stepping beside Kaela. You don't grasp mine. Lithar's markings dimmed to cold steel. Adrian Hale, final warning. Adrian held his ground. The enforcers moved. Kaela reacted first. Her markings flared in a violent surge, gold, silver, violet spilling across her skin in cascading waves. A shockwave rippled through the air, forcing the guards back half a step. Touch him, she warned softly, and you will regret it. It wasn't loud, it wasn't angry. It was simply true. Lithar's eyes widened. Kaela, you are engaging protective resonance. I know. That is forbidden. I know. Then stop. I cannot. She turned her head, eyes darting to Adrian. Not anymore. Her breath shook. I tried to step away, I tried to control it. But the moment I woke and saw him unconscious, something inside me broke open. She looked at Adrian and her expression nearly undid him. And I knew, she whispered, that I would not survive losing him. Lithar stared at her, stunned. Finally, he spoke softly. You are already bonded. Kaela's voice shook. I know. Adrian's heart hammered. Kaela, what does that mean for us? But she didn't answer. Lithar did. It means, he said, that separation will cause her lasting damage, and that your proximity will change her permanently. Adrian swallowed. Then let me stay with her. You do not understand. This is not love as humans experience it. Lithar took a step closer. This is binding. This is merging. This is choosing each other at the cost of everything else. Adrian looked at Kaela, really looked. Her trembling breath, her flickering markings, her fear, her need, her heart. And the truth crystallized inside him. He had already chosen. He stepped forward and took her hand. Her markings erupted like a star being born. The red alarms pulsed through the station like a heartbeat in panic. Every corridor lit up with warning lights, the sound echoing, shrill, mechanical, oppressive. But nothing was louder than the pounding in Adrian's chest, and Kaela's markings. They were no longer soft glows or trembling pulses. They were blazing. Violet spirals surged down her neck. Gold veins lit her arms. Silver waves rippled across her face like living auroras. She stood trembling, failing to suppress it. Lithar stared at her, horror flickering through his usually unreadable expression. It is too late, he whispered. The bond has anchored. Kaela shuddered, breath unsteady, voice cracking. I tried to stop it, I tried. But the moment I thought they would take him, something inside me. Her words dissolved into a sound Adrian had never heard from her. A soft, helpless cry. He moved to her instantly, but the enforcers stepped in his path. Kaela's markings erupted again. "Do not touch him," she snapped, voice reverberating with an alien resonance that made the air vibrate. The guards instinctively staggered back. Even Lithar took a step away. "Kaela," Adrian whispered, reaching for her hand, "look at me." She did, and when their skin touched, a rush hit him. Heat, electricity, a pulse deep in his chest that wasn't entirely his. Kaela gasped. "Do you feel that?" "Yes, this is what the bond does," she whispered. "It synchronizes, even now I feel your fear." "And I feel your pain," he murmured, voice shaking. "It's tearing you apart." Kaela grabbed his face between her hands, markings glowing fiercely. "Then you see why I wanted to step back, why I tried to distance myself. Your emotions will shape mine. If you suffer, I will suffer twice." "And if you leave," he said, "I'll suffer anyway." Her breath trembled. Lithar stepped forward, marking dim and stern. "You must be separated now. The bond is not yet complete. If we act quickly, we may reverse it." Kaela recoiled as if struck. "Reverse," she echoed. "You want to tear the bond out of me." "It is the safest option." "For who?" Adrian snapped. "For her," Lithar insisted. "A human's emotional volatility will overload her resonance. She will break under it." Kaela shook her head violently. "Adrian is not unstable." "You do not know that," Lithar said. "I know enough," she whispered. "He sees me, he listens, he does not mock what he does not understand. And he does not fear the part of me you are terrified of." Her markings brightened, trembling with emotion. "Lithar, I love him." The room froze, Adrian's breath caught. Lithar stared at her, stunned. The enforcers silently stepped back. But Kaela wasn't finished. "I have loved him longer than I realized," she said softly. "Every day I watched him try, fail, learn, grow. Every night I felt his loneliness echoing through the station. His voice calms me. His presence steadies me. He is the first human I have ever," her voice broke, "ever let inside the part of me that is not meant to be touched." Adrian reached for her hand, slowly, reverently. "Kaela," he whispered, "I love you too." Her markings flared bright gold, brighter than any light in the room. Lithar swore under his breath. "You do not understand. A Velyth bond feeds on emotion. You confess love and you intensify it. If you strengthen it further, she will not survive the withdrawal if anything happens to you." Kaela turned to him, markings blazing with resolve. "Then nothing will happen to him." Adrian squeezed her hand. "You can't protect me from the universe." "No," she said quietly, "but I can walk through it beside you." Lithar's expression tightened. "And what of your house, your standing, your future? You throw those away." "I choose him." Her voice didn't waver. "I choose him," she repeated, "even if it costs me everything." Adrian felt his throat constrict. "Kaela." She stepped closer, forehead nearly touching his. "Adrian Hale, will you choose me back?" He didn't hesitate. "Yes." The bond surged. A wave of light burst outward, soft, powerful, radiant. The chamber lights flickered, the alarms warbled, and Lithar shielded his eyes. The enforcers were thrown backward by the resonance pulse. Kaela gasped, collapsing into Adrian's arms. "The bond, it's completing Adrian." "I've got you," he whispered, holding her tight. A second pulse erupted, gentler this time, like the universe exhaling. Her markings dimmed to a warm, steady glow. Her breathing steadied. Her hands clutched his shirt with quiet desperation. Lithar slowly lowered his arm, eyes wide. "It is done," he whispered. "You have fully bonded." Kaela opened her eyes, glowing softly, and rested her forehead against Adrian's chest. "It is done," she echoed. Lithar closed his eyes in resignation. "Then there is nothing I can do. The council will be furious. House Veyer will petition for your removal. The humans may protest. The station's protocol." Adrian cut him off. "Let them protest, let them rage, let them try." He held Kaela tighter. "I'm not leaving her." Kaela's markings warmed at his words, soft gold threading down her arms. Lithar looked between them, weary and defeated. "Then prepare yourselves. This choice will not be easy. Not now, not ever." Kaela lifted her head, eyes glowing with a certainty that made Adrian's heart ache.